Good morning. This is Monday, May the 28th. I'm Ron. Welcome to Story Time. And thank you very much. I'm hoping that everybody is having a reflective Memorial Day. And so, the first section here, I'm going to be reading again from Ayn Rand's 1964 interview with Playboy magazine. We're going to pick up where we left off last time, in which she was discussing what was happening was the interviewer starting to slowly lead her into the realm of psychology, from the realm of philosophy, which is intellectual and reality based. He's leading her into psychology, which is completely imaginary. And so here we pick it up. Playboy, couldn't the attempt to rule whim out of life in a totally rational fashion be viewed as conducive to a juiceless, joyless kind of existence? Rand, I truly must say that I don't know what you are talking about. Let's define our terms. Reason is man's tool of knowledge, the faculty that enables him to perceive the facts of reality. To act rationally means to act in accordance with the facts of reality. Emotions are not tools of cognition. What you feel tells you nothing about the facts. It merely tells you something about your estimate of the facts. Emotions are the result of your value judgments. They are caused by your basic premises, which you may hold consciously or subconsciously, which may be right or wrong. A whim is an emotion whose cause you neither know nor care to discover. Now, what does it mean to act on whim? It means that a man acts like a zombie without any knowledge of what he deals with, what he wants to accomplish, or what motivates him. It means that a man acts in a state of temporary insanity. Is this what you call juicy or colorful? I think the only juice that can come out of such a situation is blood. To act against the facts of reality can result only in destruction. And I want to say here now she starts to fight the interviewer's tendency to want to psychologize the conversation. You notice she starts becoming intellectual. She starts talking about defining terms and approaching things from a rational, realistic, and logical fashion. Playboy, should one ignore emotions altogether, rule them out of one's life entirely? Rand, of course not. One should merely keep them in their place. An emotion is an automatic response, an automatic effect of man's value premises. An effect, not a cause. There is no necessary clash, no dichotomy between man's reason and his emotions, provided he observes their proper relationship. A rational man knows, or makes it a point, to discover the sources of his emotions, the basic premises from which they come. If his premises are wrong, he corrects them. He never acts on emotions for which he cannot account, the meaning of which he does not understand. In appraising a situation, he knows why he reacts as he does and whether he is right. He has no inner conflicts. His mind and his emotions are integrated. His consciousness is in perfect harmony. His emotions are not his enemies. They are his means of enjoying life, but they are not his guide. The guide is his mind. This relationship cannot be reversed, however. If a man takes his emotions as the cause and his mind as their passive effect, if he's guided by his emotions and uses his mind only to rationalize or justify them somehow, then he is acting immorally. He is condemning himself to misery, failure, defeat, and he will achieve nothing but destruction, his own and that of others. Playboy, according to your philosophy, work and achievement are the highest goals of life. Do you regard as immoral those who find greater fulfillment in the warmth of friendship and family ties? If they place such things as friendship and family ties above their own productive work, yes, then they are immoral. Friendship, family life, and human relationships are not primary in a man's life. A man who places others first above his own creative work is an emotional parasite. Whereas if he places his work first, there is no conflict between his work and his enjoyment of human relationships. And I wanted to note that the interviewer again is going for psychology again, trying to get the conversation back on a psychological slant, but not only psychological but social, because that's what the question emphasizes. What about sociability? A man as a social animal, isn't being social more important than being productive work wise? Playboy, do you believe that women as well as men should organize their lives around work? And if so, what kind of work? Rand, of course. I believe that women are human beings. What is proper for a man is proper for a woman. The basic principles are the same. I would not attempt to prescribe what kind of work a man should do, and I would not attempt it in regard to women. There's no particular work which is specifically feminine. Women can choose their work according to their own purpose and premises in the same manner as men do. And this, I'll stop her here and say she's starting to, again, missing the point, because one of the things that he's doing here, his new tactic, is to collectivize. It's one of the things that the left likes to do: psychologize and collectivize. He can't psychologize quite successfully with Ayn Rand. He hasn't been able to socialize successfully with Ayn Rand. So now he's going to try collectivizing. He's collectivizing by suggesting that there are no individuals, or that individuals are of no value or no significance, by referring to men and women. His question again: do you believe that women as well as men should organize their lives? And Ayn Rand would have answered that better by saying, no. What I am saying is that the individual should organize his or her life around work, regardless of the individual's gender, regardless of the individual's ethnicity, religious background, etc. In your opinion, Playboy, in your opinion, is a woman immoral who chooses to devote herself to home and family instead of a career? Rand, not immoral. I would say she is impractical, because a home cannot be a full time occupation except when her children are young. However, if she wants a family, wants to make that her career, at least for a while, it would be proper. If she approaches it as a career, that is, if she studies the subject, if she defines the rules and principles by which she wants to bring up her children, if she approaches her task in an intellectual manner. It is a very responsible task and very important one, but only when treated as a science, not as a mere emotional indulgence. And again, I think she kind of goes, she's still not quite getting the fact that she's being collectivized here, that the interviewer is again referring to men and women as groups, and she should have referred to, instead of referring to women, what does women do? You go and think about the individual, then say to him, look, it is up to the individual to decide what is best for his or her life in terms of what kind of work. I cannot say what is productive work for any particular individual. They have to decide for themselves, including being a housewife. There's no reason that being a housewife can't be as intellectually productive as doing anything else. Playboy, where would you say should romantic love fit into the life of a rational person whose single driving passion is work? Rand, it is his greatest reward. The only man capable of experiencing a profound romantic love is the man driven by passion for his work, because love is an expression of self-esteem, of the deepest values in a man's or woman's character. One falls in love with the person who shares these values. If a man has no clearly defined values and no moral character, he's not able to appreciate another person. In this respect, I would like to quote from The Fountainhead, in which the hero utters a line that has often been quoted by readers. Quote, to say, I love you, one must first know how to say the word I. Unquote. Playboy, you hold that one's own happiness is the highest end, and that self-sacrifice is immoral. Does this apply to love as well as work? Ayn Rand. To love more than to anything else. When you are in love, it means the person you love is of great personal selfish importance to you and to your life. If you were selfless, it would have to mean that you derive no personal pleasure or happiness from the company and the existence of the person you love, and that you are motivated only by self-sacrificial pity for that person's need of you. I don't have to point out to you that no one would be flattered by, nor would accept a concept of that kind. Love is not a self sacrifice, but the most profound assertion of your own needs and values. It is for your own happiness that you need the person you love, and that is the greatest compliment, the greatest tribute you can pay to that person. Playboy, you have denounced the Puritan notion that physical love is ugly or evil. Yet you have written, quote, indiscriminate desire and unselective indulgence are possible only to those who regard sex and themselves as evil, unquote. Would you say that discriminate and selective indulgence in sex is moral? And see, Ayn Rand, I would say that selective and discriminate sex life is not an indulgence. There you go. So she figured that one out. The term indulgence implies that it is an action taken lightly and casually. I say that sex is one of the most important aspects of man's life and therefore must never be approached lightly or casually. A sexual relationship is proper only on the ground of the highest values one can find in a human being. Sex must not be anything other than a response to values, and that is why I consider promiscuity immoral. Not because sex is evil, but because sex is too good and too important. And again, the conversation is still kind of in a psychological framework here, and would have been hopefully she would have noticed this by now, and again make a little bit more of an effort to steer the conversation in a more intellectual direction. Does this mean, in your view, Playboy? Does this mean, in your view, that sex should involve only married partners? Rand, not necessarily. What sex should involve is a very serious relationship. Whether the relationship should or should not become a marriage is a question which depends on the circumstances and the context of the two persons' lives. I consider a marriage a very important institution, but it is very important when and if two people have found the person with whom they wish to spend the rest of their lives. A question of which no man or woman can be automatically certain. When one is certain that one's choice is final, then marriage is, of course, a desirable state. But this does not mean that any relationship based on less than total certainty is improper. I think the question of an affair or marriage depends on the knowledge and the position of the two persons involved and should be left up to them. Either is moral, provided only that both parties take the relationship seriously, and that is based on values. The other thing that I noticed in this conversation that she's missing is that the interviewer is sort of putting over here is, and that she's not picking up, and she's not picking up because of her the fact that she's handicapped by her own philosophy, and that is the lack of the presumption for the status quo. The true answer to a lot of these questions is, well, let's take a look at what we're doing now. So, in regards to, for instance, the last question, where he says, does this mean, in your view, that sex should only involve married partners? Well, we got to look at what is going on in the United States at this particular point. What goes on in a majority of countries in the world? Isn't marriage a value? And don't most people around the world look at sex as being something that is should be done to consummate a marriage? And if that's the case, then that's where we start the argument. That's where we start the debate. It doesn't become, because all of this is, let's see, does this mean in your view? And again, so what's happening here is that also it's not just the psychology of it, but what they're doing psychologically, which is marginalizing Ayn Rand and her philosophy, which Ayn Rand lays into motion by creating, quote, her own philosophy and having a name for it, objectivism. Well, this is what objectivism is. This is what oh, well, in your view or in the opinion of your philosophy, does this happen? Is this go this way or that way or the other way? And who cares? Who cares what Ayn Rand or anyone else? Joe Blow can come up with, he might be a bank robber. So he comes up with the bank robber's philosophy. Who cares? I don't give a damn about your bank robber's philosophy. What I care about is reality. What's real? And the question is robbing a bank, is stealing from another person moral or immoral? We don't need to figure it out. We don't need to do that. We already know what it is. The answer is it's immoral. Now, the question can arise, should it remain that way? Should bank robbery remain immoral? And the same thing with the issue of sex and marriage. In the United States and everywhere else, the basic idea is we have sex. Sex was given to us by God for procreation. Procreation is best done in a committed union, where there's a committed mother and a committed father, and that means marriage. So that means that it is best that sex take place inside of marriage, not outside, not premarital and not intramarital or extramarital, excuse me, but only intramarital. That's the way things are. Now, if there's somebody that wants to say that that's wrong, then they are free to come up with evidence and put that evidence together in a logical manner to reach a valid conclusion. And if they can do that, then we can go ahead and take a look at new ways of expressing ourselves sexually. But until that happens, we just simply maintain the status quo. Okay, so that's going to be it for Ayn Rand for this episode. And when I come back, we're going to get a few jokes from the New York City Cab Drivers Joke Book. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, I wanted to note that I'm probably the only host in the United States of America, first of all, that is a true conservative, i.e., conservative because I know that I'm a conservative, rather than being conservative because I'm told by the left that I'm conservative. And I'm the only conservative actually working on Memorial Day. Everybody else, all the other talk show hosts have taken the day off. Which makes me think, what? It's so difficult to talk. You're so exhausted and so tired from talking that you got to go out and take a break. And it was not just taking Memorial Day off, but it's a lot of talk show hosts. Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity took a 5-day weekend: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. What, a 3-day weekend isn't good enough? Oh well. Anyways, so this is the part of the episode where I read some jokes from the New York City Cab Drivers Joke Book, and let's see, what do we got here? Um, let's see. All right, well, let's try this one. Okay, how many doctors does it take to change a light bulb? It depends on how much health insurance the light bulb has. An Italian man sends his son away to the United States so that the boy can get a good education. Sending money from Italy, the man puts the child through junior high school, college, and eventually the son goes on to become a great success in business. So the son decides to do something for his father in return. He makes up his mind that he wants to bring his father to the United States, and after some persuading, the father agrees to come. The son flies him over and meets him at the airport. The son then takes the father home, and they have a big reunion party. The son sits the old man down and says, "Pop, what is it that you would like to do here in the United States that you've never been able to do before?" "Son," says the Italian man, "I would like to see a baseball game." The son says, "Great, we'll go tomorrow." It just so happens the next day, the Old Timers' Day at Yankee Stadium. Baseball greats are all there. The son has managed to get box seats right on the first base line. He gets his father a Yankees cap, a beer, and they're all set to enjoy the game. First batter up to the plate is Mickey Mantle. On the first pitch, he swings the bat and crack, the ball goes flying. The crowd goes crazy, and the father stands up and yells, "Run him, Mickey, run, Mickey." So Mantle gets to second base, and the next batter up is Roger Maris. On the first pitch, he hits the ball. On the first pitch, he hits the ball. Let's see where we go. Oh, yes, he hits the ball, crack. It goes sailing over the fence. The crowd gets to its feet, and the father jumps up and yells, "Run, Roger, run, Roger, run." The next batter up is Joe DiMaggio. The pitcher throws the ball. Ball one, ball two, ball three, ball four. Joe DiMaggio tosses his bat aside and begins to walk to first base. The father yells out, "Run, Joe, run, Joe, run." The son says, "No, no, Pop, he got 4 balls. He walks." And the old man clenches his fist and says solemnly, "Walk proud, Joe, walk proud." And with that, that ends another episode of Story Time. And until next time, thank you very much for joining me, and have a very reflective Memorial Day.